Okay, good evening, everybody. We will call together the July 13th Regional Council meeting. Before we start, I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in the traditional territory of our friends, neighbors, and Treaty 8 partners of the Prophet River First Nation, as well as the Fort Nelson First Nation. We recognize our treaty, and we recognize the rights within that treaty. Finally, we celebrate the contributions and enduring presence of the Métis people in our region. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually. It's being streamed and recorded. Council, do you have any additions to tonight's agenda? Staff? No, Mayor. Thank you. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on anything on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody in the gallery who would wish to speak? Anybody online? Seeing none, we will move on. Adoption of the agenda is in order, please. Moved by Councillor Andrews, second by Councillor Enoch. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. There are 4 sets of minutes there. Special Regional Council meeting of June 16th, Committee of the Whole of June 16th, Committee of the Whole of June 22nd, and the Regional Council meeting from June 22nd for adoption. Moved by Councillor Enoch, second by Councillor Andrews. Are there any errors or omissions? Council? Staff? No? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Those 4 are adopted. Okay, so that brings us, is there any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, that brings us to proclamations. National Drowning Prevention Week. I have a proclamation here, which I'd like to read. National Drowning Prevention Week, July 19th, 25th, 2026. Whereas the mission of Life Saving Society Canada is to prevent drowning throughout this great country, and even one drowning in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality is one too many. And whereas most drownings are preventable in a water-smart community, and only through water-smart education and healthy respect for the potential danger that any body of water may present, can we genuinely enjoy the beauty and recreation opportunities offered by these bodies of water. And whereas the Life Saving Society urges Canadians and residents of the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality to supervise children who are in and around water to refrain from drinking alcoholic beverages while participating in aquatic activities, and to always wear a life jacket when boating. And whereas the United Nations General Assembly passed the UN Resolution on Drowning Prevention and named July 25th of each year as World Drowning Prevention Day. And whereas Life Saving Society Canada has declared July 19th to 25th, 2026 National Drowning Prevention Week to focus on the drowning problems and the hundreds of lives that could be saved this year. Now, therefore, I, Rob Fraser, Mayor, do hereby proclaim July 19th to 25th, 2026 National Drowning Prevention Week in the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. Oh, I like to see this. Yay. There you go.
Thank you.
Everybody take a picture?
Yeah.
Picture. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Okay, that brings us to reports. So administration report number 42, 2026, award of the Leachate Force Main Construction Phase 2 and approval of additional funding. Staff, please. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this report covers the landfill cell development budget as well as the procurement for the Leachate Force Main project. The cell development program or budget supports upgrades and improvements to existing and new landfill cells. And in recent years, the primary focus has been the Leachate Force Main line installation, which connects cell manholes to the wastewater system, allowing us to discharge leachate directly to the sewer. Over several years, staff have worked closely with ministry representatives to obtain the appropriate approvals for this project. Among these approvals was the landfill operational certificate, or the OC amendment, which allows temporary discharge until the line is fully constructed. Under this amendment, construction must be completed by December 31st, 2026. Phase one of construction began in 2025, and now we're moving on to the second and final stage. The approved budget includes funding for phase two, which encompasses the construction, the installation of equipment, pumps, control panels, electrical tie-in, as well as consulting and contingency allowances. Separately, but in the same budget, just separate from this scope, we also have funds allocated to tree clearing for future cell development. So a tender for phase two was posted, which closed in early June. The opportunity included the final construction of the line, the pump installation, and installation of the control panels, not the purchase of that equipment, as those have been sourced separately, as well as the electrical tie-in. I should note that we also separately, not included in this tender, would be the engineering, the consulting fees, any survey, site inspection, contingency, and the tree clearing is all not included in this tender opportunity. So that's all separate. As outlined in the report, we received 3 bids. They have quite the range. Following evaluation of the submissions, Red Drum Energy was deemed as the lowest compliant bidder. 2 challenges should be highlighted. The first being that the lowest bid exceeds the approved budget for this scope. Secondly, the control panels and the pumps came in higher in cost than we had originally anticipated. I think it's clear with the 2026 trends that we have been seeing a lot of increased inflation this year. These overages are a reflection of those construction increases, as well as increased costs in our local market, and then lastly, increases in equipment costs. It's also worth noting that significant time and effort goes into the budget planning process. Staff work with consultants to obtain supplier quotes, to analyze unit rates, and to assess project risks. That said, this project experienced some significant delays while appropriate approvals were pending with ministry. Those delays extended the project timeline and exposed it to additional inflation. Even though the 2026 budget was prepared based on actual unit rates from phase one, we still significantly exceeded those unit rates in phase two, just 1 year later. Looking forward, staff will consider larger contingencies and risk allowances to protect budgets from these overages. However, to proceed with this budget and to meet the December 2026 compliance timeline, we're proposing that we increase the overall budget and award the project to Red Drum Energy.
Okay, thanks, Jasmine. Any questions? There's obviously unit prices have gone up, right? And I do have a question though. Anytime I see a bid that's considerably lower than others and they're close, I wonder if we're comfortable that they can actually do the job for the bid that they've put in. Is it, because that causes you troubles too, right? If so, have we looked at Red Drum and are we comfortable that they can produce the job at that rate?
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's right.
But
Yeah.
as in review of unit rates from phase one, he was the awarded bidder for phase one and is now the recommended award. Those unit rates have increased both perhaps as a reflection of making sure that he can cover his full costs, as well as general inflation. So I think there's 2 factors there. I think recognizing maybe any profit issues or losses in phase one, unit rates have been adjusted to reflect that and ensure that he can cover those costs.
Okay, And just to make sure, the scope here is, as you've said, is for the earthworks for the most part, and then there's also an increase cost in the equipment. That's why it's 1.1 million instead of it, what was it, 830? Something like 830, yeah.
Yeah, so it's noted in the report that we had originally budgeted for 3 control panels and 3 pumps. After the budget creation or development, it was flagged that a critical spare was necessary and that we should have that on hand prior to any failure or maintenance. So to increase our reliability, purchasing it now with the current pump order would reduce our overall costs in future. If we purchase that separately, we're going to see separate procurement, separate shipping costs. So purchasing them all in a bundle essentially will reduce that for future when we ultimately know that the equipment is required.
Right, so it's a critical piece of equipment. It's a critical part. Essentially, you want it on yourself so you can use it immediately instead of having to wait whatever time it takes for it to show up,
Exactly.
especially with procurement the way it is anymore. So,
Well, and if that need is 3 years from now, how much will inflation continue in the next 3 years? So to purchase now makes more sense. That's why we've flagged that we
Okay.
purchased that additional pump.
good. Any other comments or questions? Do I see anybody online? No? Okay, council's wishes. Thank you for the report, Jasmine. It was good. Anybody? Councilor Adams.
I'll motion that the leachate force main construction phase 2 contract be awarded to Red Drum Energy in the amount of $561,210 plus contingency and GST. And that the budget for the cell development landfill project be increased from 830,000 to 1.1 million. And the contribution from the solid waste reserve fund be increased to 1.1 million.
Do I have a seconder? Okay, moved by Councilor Andrews, second by Councilor Souls. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the admin report 4326, the town hall transformer replacement and generator install project award. Staff, please. Welcome, Sean.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you can see in the report before you today, we put forward a tender proposal for the bids and tenders from May 27th until June 25th for the completion of the transformer replacement and generator install. During that, we only received one compliant bid, one bid overall, and that was S. Young Enterprises. We forwarded the bid documents to Airedale Architecture for review for compliance insurance, and Airedale has provided a letter of recommendation, as you can see attached as well. The project was, the bid value of the project falls within the total budget that was initially given for 2026 of $2,200,000 at 1.4 million and change. So I'll leave it with council to make make a decision on if they wish to proceed or not.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions? So contingency is included in this and engineering is all, so that's the total cost of the project.
The 2.2 million,
Yeah,
that's the soft cost, the contingencies,
okay,
consultant fees. The 1.418 is the cost of construction and some materials.
okay, so there still may be some costs over and above this.
There's the demolition of the existing transformer. There's also the purchase of the generator and the ATS. That's all in that 2.2.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Council's wishes. Councilor Souls, please.
I recommend that the contract for the town hall transformer replacement and generator installation project be awarded to S. Young Enterprises in the amount of $1,418,975 plus contingency and applicable taxes.
Moved by Councilor Souls, second by Councilor Andrews. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Are there any opposed? Seeing none, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to correspondence. There are 7 pieces of correspondence for your information. Would we like to receive those?
I'd like to pull out Prince George Mary Simon U. For
9.1, do
discussion. Yes.
you move that? Do I have a seconder? Second by Counselor Andrews, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, 9.1 is ready for discussion. Go ahead.
Well, I think with all of us living in the north, I look forward to that grant discount when I pay my taxes. So I think we should include a letter of support for him to take to UBCM.
Yeah, I think we did that already,
Did
actually.
we?
Yeah, I think,
Was I here for that or was?
or
I
maybe you weren't
on
here
it?
for that, but we did send a letter of support. Actually, we wanted to actually be a co-sponsor of it. I think this letter, I think this letter is response from him saying
Oh,
they don't want anybody else to change anything or add any more resolutions to UBCM, because what they tend to do is they tend to pick one, right? And sometimes it's not worded the way the original proponent wanted to put it forward. And so I think what he's asking here is that none of us put forward a UBCM resolution,
Okay.
just let theirs go forward, I think is what he's asking.
thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying.
Yeah, but you may not have been here when we actually sent that letter. You're welcome. Staff, anything you have to say? You what? Oh, you were in Nashville, having a good time while we were here working. Okay, so thank you for that. That leaves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of correspondence for information. Would somebody like, moved by Counselor Andrews, second by Counselor Enax. All in favor? Opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us, there's no new business. Council reports. Are there any council reports? Counselor Enax.
So July 1st, I had the opportunity to judge the floats with Chief Harold. And it was a fantastic morning, driving back and forth and stopping the parade in the middle of the highway and doing all the things we shouldn't do and hand out the ribbons. Great job by everybody that had a float in there. It was really good. And he did say to me that I was way more fun than Mayor Fraser. Just saying.
I was all business. I was all about judging. I was all business that day.
July 2nd, I attended the Heritage Society meeting. July 6th, I also attended the special meeting, the Council to Council with Fort Nelson First Nation. And this past weekend, I spent the entire weekend out at the motocross track for the PMA races. Fantastic weekend, lots of people. We were rained on once, couple injuries, but overall it went good.
Good, thank you. Counselor Souls.
I want to give a report on a meeting of a bison focused meeting that took place in Fort St. John. It was actually just for framework. It's a values gathering type of exercise where there's communities from all over the north that were represented there. I'll list them, but the intent of it is to try to get a feel, government's trying to get a feel for how the communities want to manage the bison in the north. And it's been stimulated by the discussion's been stimulated by the problems showing up in various communities and primarily the Pink Mountain community and the amount of bison that have propagated there and are now posing problems is quite significant. So at the symposium or planning, gathering, discussion around bison, it didn't have a very good title, I'll tell you that. Anyway, the NRM was represented, FNFN, Prophet River, Blueberry, DOIG, BC Wildlife Federation, Alberta Government Wildlife Biologist that manages the bison interaction in the Northern Alberta context and on our border here where the Hay River / Sama bison herd crosses back and forth and doesn't know whether it wants to be in BC or Alberta.
No one showed on the border.
No, they can't see the line. It's not clear enough. Need red ink. So the we looked at the overview of the 4 herds that are in northeastern BC. The first one that we're really familiar with is the Nahanni herd. They're the ones that have cell groups that are visiting us and taking up residence. The Zamahay River group east of us, the Iridium the group up at the hot springs that you see on the Alaska Highway all over north of Mont Chaud, and then the 4th one at the Pink Mountain herd. All of them have the various challenges that they are dealing with, but the primary focus of these meetings was on developing a management strategy for bison. And so that's why every region, we need to be consulting every region. And so the overall perspective on the bison with that wide of representation there was that there are the regions want to see some bison, but nobody wants to be overrun by bison. So you want to be able to see some of them, but you don't want to be overrun by them and have them really creating problems in your communities. So as it pertains to Northern Rockies, our messaging to it was that we would like to see a hard line somewhere. We've had the northern herds around us for a very long time in the NRM, and the bison always from the northern herd would stop at the Nelson River. They never came across it. They didn't have a reason to until they had a nice bridge to walk on. And then once there was a nice bridge to walk on, I don't think they found grass on this side, farmers' fields and so on. They're not about to abandon this. They're part of it. So our recommendation that we took there from our farming community and just from in general is that we try to reestablish a hard boundary again in the future. That's just a recommendation. It's just an idea as well. We acknowledge that there is a benefit to having bison on the highway because you can see them, and there's a detriment of having them on the highway because you run into them. And but what I was really struck by was the amount of agreement that there was in that room, and with the varied represented groups that were there, that everyone felt that this better be looked at a lot more closely sooner rather than later, because the government doesn't know the numbers of the bison that are out there. They don't know. The easiest one to count by far is the ones along the hot springs, the highway toward the hot springs, because they never get off the road. And so you can kind of count as you drive out your window, you get the whole scope of them. All the other herds, they've lost track of how many are where. No one has been counting for years. There have been some spot checks, attempts to count the Pink Mountain herd with variables over the last 10 years, variables from 1,600 animals one year to 350 the next, all they were able to find to count. And so it's really difficult to establish a management principle without having some information to work with. And so one of the recommendations of our group at that time was that we figure out who's going to be starting to count these bison and how, so that we actually have a better. As I said, the focus was primarily the biggest problem bison that are around are the Pink Mountain herd. And so the discussions around that one, there was quite a bit of information given about what trouble they're causing. And so this last year is a very clear, gives a whole bunch of data on what happens when you have deep snow in the low ground. In the deep snow this year, the bison moved up into the high country and they chased the sheep off of their grazing areas up in the high country, and their high sheep mortality, a direct correlation, sheep mortality with bison conflict. You can imagine that did I mention that the Guide Outfitters Association was there too? No, I didn't actually. The Guide Outfitters were also there. And of course, when you start looking at, this is a complicated issue. It's getting to be a large issue in a hurry. So to that end, there are more meetings planned, and we will have a meeting here in Fort Nelson in sometime in the early part of September. And I invite some council members to sit in on it as well, because the discussion is going to carry on. I appreciated the approach to government on this particular the approach that they're taking with this is that they've essentially tasked the northern communities to develop regulations for the bison in the northern communities. Like, go figure, isn't that amazing for
Mhm.
government to actually do something like that? And so I think it just highlights our need as government and as a participant in that to make sure that we're well represented and that the interests of our Northern Rockies are well represented within that. So that's the report on the meeting. Since then, the bison are back trashing the fields, so on.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Gering, do you have a report?
No, nothing official, I'm on baby duty.
Okay, thank you. So I'll talk about a few things that that I did since the last meeting. So the morning of the on the 23rd, there was a healthcare professional recruitment and retention information center with the Minister of Health. Essentially where many mayors and chairs around the province had an opportunity to talk to the minister. She had some questions. I got a chance to get in on a couple of the questions and put our best foot forward. We did get a shout out as having a good recruitment and retention program. She specifically mentioned us as well as a couple others. There was a couple other communities who have copied some of the things that we've done. That's obvious. So yeah, so it was good from that perspective. I don't know what she's going to do with the information. There's some talk about maybe regulating what you can do and what you can't do with respect to recruitment. We'll have to see how that all plays out. But there wasn't near enough time for everybody to get their questions asked and answered. But not a bad meeting. Then on the 24th, there was a mayor and chair's briefing with respect to the fire conditions in the province as well as the drought conditions. We are out of danger from a drought perspective. I guess they measure that by the water that they see out there, but talk to anybody on the ground and there's still potential for it's still dry out there. So I think if we get people on the ground and we start getting some feedback that it's dry, we should be feeding that into the system because they think that we're not in any kind of drought at all, but you get out there and and it's still pretty dry. I had 3 meetings that day. There was another one with Northern Health in the afternoon, and to tell you the truth, I'm drawing a blank on what we talked about, and that's probably not out of the ordinary with the meetings that we have with Northern Health. But I don't have my notebook with me, so I did take some notes. Would you like to speak to it, Deputy Mayor Gerwing? Because
No,
I'm just drawing a blank.
I
Yeah.
I have nothing to add. I just think that's hilarious.
Yeah. If I had my notebook, because I did take some notes. If I had some notes, I'd be able to speak to it. And then that evening was the going away for Dr. Lupu and Dr. Hadding, and I said a few words there, and I thought it was sad, but I think it was well attended, and I think we gave them a good send off. So thank you for putting that together. That was good. Then on the 25th, grad. At FNSS, I was able to give a brief speech there and hand out 4 awards that day, 2 for the municipality and 2 for the doctors. And then Canada Day, July the 1st, I attended that. I got busy in the morning, so I didn't get an opportunity. Thank you, Councillor Enax, for subbing in for me and looking after the parade. But I did get there in time to cut some cake and do a little bit of a speech in the afternoon before I took off on vacation. So I thought it was a great day. Yeah, there was, again, well attended. It rained a little bit, but everybody stood through it, and the parade came off, and then everybody came inside and they ate and had a good time. So I thought it was good. Okay, that's it, I think, for council reports. I don't think there's any business outstanding. Is there any questions from the gallery or anybody online? Okay. Then adjournment is in order. Moved by Councillor Enax, second by Councillor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.